All right. We have Mrs. Sandra Black, who is our trainer tonight, and she is also our newest gold consultant. Everybody can give her a round of applause. That's pretty awesome. She is also IATAN certified, and she has been with the company for almost 2 years come this August. And she is going to teach us about travel agent emergency protocols, which is a great time to go over all of this. All right, let's give a round of applause for Miss Sandra Black.
Evening, everyone. Thank you so much. I am looking forward to sharing some information with you all tonight. As Jessica said, with things that are just happening in the world right now, I thought this would be a great topic to try to go over, reiterate. We have some very seasoned agents on the line that are very familiar, and we have lots of new agents in our family as well. So I thought this would just be a good opportunity to go over some of these things that we can all benefit from. So we'll go ahead and get right started. You should be able to see my screen. Please let me know if you cannot. And so we're going to talk about travel agent emergency protocols, what to do before, during, and during your client's travel plans when things change fast, unexpectedly. So supporting your clients through airline shutdowns, missed flights, cruise, medical emergencies, outbreaks, weather disruptions, and unexpected travel interruptions. Let's talk about it. What is the travel agent's role during the emergency? Make note, you are not the airline, the cruise line, the resort, doctor, or the insurer. You are there to keep your client calm and make sure that you get everything connected. So you are more so the connector, connecting all the pieces. So first, you want to protect your client. You want to make sure that they are safe. So help them to stay safe, understanding the next steps, and reach the right provider quickly. Protect the booking. So you want to confirm what is covered, what can be rebooked, what documentation is needed, and you're also going to protect your business. So it's very important to document everything. Make sure your communication is clear. Do not promise refunds that are out of your control. So we don't want to get into telling them what the airline will pay back, telling them what the resort will cover, what the supplier will cover. You want to lead them in the direction, but we don't want to promise things that are out of our control. Before travel, build that safety net. Emergency support starts before the client even leaves home. We're going to go over a few examples of that. So you want to collect their key details. We should already be doing this, especially if they're taking any type of international travel. A lot of this information you already need, but if maybe it's domestic, you still want to make sure you gather as much of this information as possible. So you're going to make sure you have their full legal names. That's very important, not necessarily nicknames or what they like to be called. You do need that legal information. Date of birth, passport information. You should already have this if the client is traveling internationally. Phone numbers, emergency contacts. What if something happens? Ask for emergency contact. Are they a part of any type of loyalty program with the hotel or cruise lines? Get that loyalty number. Do they have any mobility or medical notes that you should make a note of? So, are there going to be any wheelchairs involved, walkers, things like that? You want to get that key information. Confirm the coverage. So you want to make sure we always offer travel protection. Clearly document if they have accepted it or if they denied it. If they denied it, you want to make sure they're filling out a form that explains that they have denied it. Explain medical, trip interruptions, supplier default, and evacuation limits. This is going to be in that travel protection policy. Prepare your documents. Make sure you provide your clients with the final itinerary. Supplier contacts should be in that itinerary along with travel details. Direct your clients to the cruise app, the airline app, as well as sharing that insurance policy information with them. We should be sending all of that information to them as part of the final itinerary. And set the expectations. Tell your clients who to contact first. Is it going to be the airline, cruise line, resort? For those immediate needs, those are going to be the places they're going to go to first. Insurance for the claim, you are there to guide them and to document things. Monitor the risk window. So watch the airline visibility. Watch the weather. Are there airlines or any type of properties that are going on strikes? Any advisories that are out there, cruise alerts, schedule changes, connection times. Those are the things that we are doing as an expert. We're monitoring those things on behalf of our client. Create a contact plan. So save the client phone numbers. We should be saving those things. Give them your office hours. So if you are a travel agent and you like to stick to specific hours, you let your clients know that they can contact you during those hours. And create emergency boundaries. We do want to be there for our clients when they're traveling and there is an emergency. Let them know that they are able to text you, maybe an urgent only text. Whatever it is that you want your boundaries to be, share those things with your clients and make them realistic. If your client is traveling, you do need to make sure you have realistic boundaries so that they do know that they can reach out to you in the event of an emergency. During travel, I like to use a simple triage flow. So move from panic to process in the first 15 minutes. If your client is contacting you in an emergency situation, more than likely they are going to be panicking. So it's our responsibility to try to help to stabilize the situation. So you want to try to help to calm your client down. Oops, sorry guys. Just 1 second. I go back. Sorry, give me a second, guys. Sorry. Just bear with me here. I apologize. Alrighty, so here we are. During travel, we're going to use a simple triage flow. As I mentioned, if your clients are contacting you in an emergency, more than likely they are going to be in some form of panic, some form of upset, and we are there to try to help to stabilize and calm the situation down. So you want to start with safety. Are you safe? Do you need medical care? Or airport cruise staff, where are they? Right away, we're going to get you that care. Verify everything. So you want to get the facts. Make sure you have the booking information correct, the location of where they are, the time. Have them send you screenshots, names of any representatives that they have communicated with. That's going to be that verification and that contact. Options. You want to let them know what their options are, whom they should be contacting, point them in the right direction for the provider they should be reaching out to first. Give them that insurance information. Let them know to contact the ship medical or the port agent, depending on the situation. The embassy, if they are out of the country in an emergency, or emergency services. And five, we want to make sure they document everything. So you're going to ask your client to document, and then we're also going to keep the documents on behalf of our clients as well. Everything that they've shared with you, you want to make sure that you're documenting that. Airline shutdown or bankruptcy. This has happened, right? Just in recent weeks, we have experienced something that I'm sure many of us did not see coming, and that is the shutdown and bankruptcy of Spirit Airlines that just recently happened within the last 2 weeks. Shutdown shows why agents need to have rapid response playbook. It's a very clear example of why we need to make sure that we have a good response system. So the immediate action, confirm the flight status through official channels, not necessarily through Facebook or things like that. You want to go directly to the airline's portal, the airline's website to confirm that. Make sure you're letting your clients know not to head to the airport unless they have rebooked. If they have been told that the airline is shut down, such as in this situation with Spirit Airline, there is no need to run to the airport unless they have already rebooked that. And we can assist with searching alternative flights by urgency, by airport, and by route. Again, making sure that they preserve those receipts, keep those receipts. Payment and protection. So check to see how the ticket was paid for. Direct clients to the original booking channel. For example, was it a credit card? They may be able to do a dispute or chargeback options. In the case of Spirit Airlines, it is my understanding that Spirit did let everyone know via their communication channels that they were going to be refunding back any tickets that were paid for through a credit card. So that was something that does not always happen in a bankruptcy situation. Oftentimes they may have to request a chargeback. Check their travel insurance claims to see what procedures they may need to take where applicable. And your guardrails. Again, as we talked about in the very beginning, do not guarantee reimbursement. That is not what we're there to do. We're simply there to guide and make sure that we're keeping all of those documentations. And you can even explain that sometimes in bankruptcies, there can be limits on funds and timing. They may not get those refunds back in a very timely manner. Encourage your clients to keep any screenshot, any supplier notices, and proof of the cancellation. And you'll see a note here that DOT warns in airline bankruptcies that they can leave travelers possibly stranded, and bankruptcy law may affect the refund or the vouchers that they may have been promised. So these are things that you want to make sure that you're making note of and you're letting your clients know as well. Now, what about missed flights, delays, missed connections? So the goal again is to get your client to the counter. So if they're at the airport, you want to get them to the counter. A confirmed option, and again, documentation of the proof as fast as possible. So your client has missed the flight. What do? We're going to have them go directly to the airline counter immediately. Encourage them to ask about same day standbys and next available flight. In the case of an airline caused delay, encourage your client to ask if the airline doesn't already mention it. Ask about meal or hotel transport options if applicable. Get written confirmation of the delayed reason. Encourage them to do that while they're at the airport, while they're at the counter if possible. What about missing cruise or tour connections? We want to notify the cruise line or the tour operator as quickly as you can, and any transfer companies immediately. Ask for the port agent guidance and joining instructions. This is going to be more so if there's a tour. Of course, we know if they've missed a cruise ship, if it's taken off, they have just missed the cruise ship, right? There's not a whole lot we can do there outside of checking the policies and different things like that. In the case of missing the tour operator connection, we can try to see if there's any way to possibly join that group and what the options are to do that. Again, our agent responsibilities is to reprice any alternatives if available, check nearby airports if they need to go to another local airport, advise on luggage handling, document everything, every cost before the client pays for it. Make sure that they have documentation, they are clear on what the cost will be before they submit any payment. An insurance response. If protected, if your client does have insurance, have the client contact the insurance company for assistance. You will have access to that phone number as well as often there's a website. And a protection tip. Book longer connections for cruises and international trips. And this is going to be a really good idea when people are traveling via cruise or they have those international trips. Internationally, they're going to have to go through customs and things like that. So if they do have a layover, you want that layover to be a little bit longer. And sometimes clients may ask, oh my gosh, this is a 2.5 hour layover. Why so long? You want to explain to them that as your expertise, that you're advising that you want to give them enough time to get through customs to make it to the next gate. Sometimes at airports, one gate to another gate can be a mile and a half long. So you want to make sure they have time to do that. Same thing when they are going into that port city for the cruise. You want to make sure they have enough time to get their transportation and make sure they make it to that cruising port in time, as well as when they are leaving the cruise. You want to make sure they have time to get to the airport. What about medical emergencies on cruise ships? Medical care exists on board. They do have medical care there. But serious cases may require evacuation and even hospitalization ashore. So, what should your client do? They should call the ship emergency number immediately, visit the medical center, and most importantly, follow the ship doctor's instructions. And again, keep all medical paperwork and all receipts. And what you should do as an agent, stay available to help with logistics. Notify the emergency contact if authorized. So again, going back to what we talked about in the beginning, getting that emergency contact information from your clients. And you're going to help with family or friends with their flight and hotels if we do need to make any of those changes. Contact the cruise line support. You do have access to do that. And you can guide them through the insurance assistance call. You can give them some suggestions on things that they should make sure that they mention. Again, making sure they have all their documentation in place. An important reminder here, cruise medical charges are usually billed to the passenger. So you're going to keep that in mind. Travel insurance with medical, evacuation, and trip interruption benefits do matter. So you want to make sure you're taking a look at that insurance policy. Never give medical advice. That's a big no-no. We are not here to give medical advice. We're simply here to guide and make sure our clients document everything and they're reaching out to the right person, depending on the situation. What about a virus or GI outbreak on a cruise ship? As we've been hearing recently, there has been a virus breakout. Seem things to be a little bit under control right now, but as we know with COVID and other things that have happened in and around the country and the world, these things do happen. So outbreak response requires calm, hygiene guidance, isolation compliance, and again, documentation. We can't say documentation enough. Client guidance. You want to report the symptoms, encourage them to report their symptoms to the ship medical center. Washing their hands with soap and water, just encourage them to stay as hygiene guidance as possible. Avoid sharing spaces with other sick people. Follow isolation and debarkation instructions. So they want to first follow those instructions that the cruise is giving. Don't call Sandra asking her, what should she do? What did the medical team tell you to do on the cruise ship? Please follow that. And agent guidance. We are going to be monitoring official cruise lines and the CDC for updates. If we know things are happening, we can pay attention to those websites. Do not speculate online. Again, we don't want to use Facebook and other social media sites as our go-to. We can use those sites as, hey, I heard that something was happening. I have clients that are traveling soon. Let me go and check the CDC website. Let's see if there's any updates on the website. Let me check Royal Caribbean to see if they've put out any notices or anything like that. And another good thing I know for myself, and I think other partners do this as well, when I book cruises and I book trips for my clients, I normally like to do that with my email address and I'll use my client's phone number. That way, if there are any email communications, that's going to come to me first and I can filter that down to my client. It keeps me in the loop and I'm able to be able to get that information to my client very quickly. Help with post-cruise changes. So if there's any changes they need to make, getting to a different hotel or things like that, you're there to help them with that. Insurance claims, you're going to direct them to where to go ahead and submit those insurance claims. And alternate, if they need to do any alternating of their lodging, transportation, we're going to be able to help with that. And you ask your clients to save their medical notes. If they were forced to quarantine, save the quarantine letter that would have been provided to them. Onboard account charges, make sure they're saving those things too. Did they miss any excursions due to this? Keep all those receipts for any expenses. And you'll see a note here, the CDC posts certain cruise outbreaks when they meet public health thresholds. Passengers should report illness and wash their hands often. So other emergency plans, and this might be a good place if you just want to do a quick little screenshot here. I've just kind of given you some tips on other emergencies. So a strong emergency protocol will cover the most common things in what now moments, right? So what if they lose their passport? What do they do? So the first thing they want to do is contact a nearby embassy, a consulate, file a police report if that's appropriate. Keep copies of their passport accessible. So I do advise my clients to take a copy of their passport and put that in a separate place than where their passport is. So then that way they will at least have that copy of that passport should they lose that. Theft or assault, call local authorities, resort or security. Contact the embassy if documents are involved. Preserve reports. What about weather disruptions? Monitor supplier waivers. We saw something very frequently that just happened, or recently, I should say, with Jamaica, with the unexpected hurricane. So we saw that happening. So we want to make sure that we're documenting all those different things. And most importantly, you want to advise your client to prioritize their safety over the cost. You want to make sure that they're safe. They can then look back at recouping some of their cost. Document any cancellation rules and protection coverage. What about a supplier failure? You're working with a supplier and they just didn't come through. Pieces didn't fall together as they should have. You want to confirm if the compliant is still if the component is still valid. So you want to make sure that you're confirming all of that. Rebook critical items first. So you want to rebook obviously air, hotel, transfers. You want to rebook those first before we're looking at rebooking excursions, right? Because we want to make sure that our client is safe and they can get back home first. What about a resort evacuation? Follow local resort instructions. Confirm safe transfer options. Keep clients with the official group. So don't encourage them to separate from the group. If they've been told to stay with a separate with a group, please encourage them to stay with that group and follow the local officials' instructions. Natural disasters. Just talked about that with Jamaica and with that hurricane that no one expected, all of that devastation. So, again, we're going to be checking the airport. We're going to check the hotel, cruise line, local government for updates. Avoid unverified social posts. We just talked about that a few times, right? We're going to avoid that. What about civil unrest? Avoid any demonstrations. Use State Department alerts and local emergency contacts. Family emergency. These things do happen. We're going to help with assessing the trip interruption and benefits, rebooking rules, and documentation needs. These are just great things to just keep in mind because you don't think that these things happen, but they do sometimes. And here, another great place that you may want to take a screenshot. I've provided some client scripts for you. So in the event that some of these things that we just talked about do happen, you want to make sure that you're using clear language, that you are calm, concise, and action oriented. And so we'll go over these. Here's a great text that could be used for an airline shutdown. First, we want to proceed with compassion. I'm so sorry that this happened to you. First, please do not go to the airport unless we have confirmed that you have a new flight. Letting them know that I am checking alternatives for you now. Please send me screenshots of your cancellation and your current location. Missed flight texts. Letting them know, go directly to the airline counter. If they're already at the airport, it's going to be best for them to go directly to the counter. They can also have the app open, the airline app open at the same time while they're checking to see what's available. Encourage them to ask for the next available flight and standby options. And to let them know to send you the new itinerary before they leave the counter if possible. So that way you can help to keep up with that for them. If they let you know, I'm having a cruise, I'm on a cruise, I'm having a medical emergency, you want to let them know to please contact the ship medical center immediately. Your health comes first, relax, keep every receipt and medical document. Once you are safe, send me an update and I'll help with the logistics. Here's an outbreak text. Please follow the ship, or we're going to assume their ship, resort, ship's medical and isolation instructions. Save all written notices and receipts, and letting them know that you'll be monitoring any for official updates and help with post-cruise or post-resorts arrangements if needed. And then here's a line to just keep things professional and keep that professional boundary. Letting them know I can help you navigate the process and gather documents, but being firm that the final decision on refunds, coverage, medical care are going to be made by the supplier, the insurer, or the medical professionals, depending on where they are, either on a cruise, a resort, things like that. And we don't like to think about this, but this has happened and this does happen, unfortunately. What if your client actually passes away while on vacation? First, we're going to respond with compassion. Then we're going to make sure we're documenting very, very carefully and connecting the family to the right authorities and the support team, most important. So the immediate priority is to confirm who's calling you, who's letting you know that your client has passed away, and whether the local authorities or resort ship management have been notified. If they are abroad, you want to tell the caller, family, or travel companions, whomever is contacting you, to contact the nearest U.S. embassy or consulate. Gather names, location, case numbers, and point of contact. And what we should do, contact the supplier emergency desk. Whatever supplier you've worked with to book this trip, you want to make sure you're contacting their emergency desk. If they are on a tour, you want to contact a tour operator. Same thing if it's a cruise, you're going to call the cruise line immediately. If they're at a resort, you'll contact the resort line. And you're going to help locate the booking records. You may be asked for the booking information. You're going to be able to locate that. Passport details, you should have access to that if they are abroad. Emergency contacts, if you are speaking with the cruise line, you should have an emergency contact for your client before they've gotten on that cruise. And travel insurance information. Document every conversation and share only factual updates. Don't share assumptions and things like that, only the factual information. Important reminders to make sure you're letting your client's family know that the death certificate, any local legal process, and release of the remains are all handled by the local authorities, funeral professionals, and the insurer. So you want to make sure you're letting them know that you have nothing to do with those things, that those are going to be the right people to handle that. And again, we do not want to make any promises on timelines. So if they're asking you, well, when do you think that, my dad's remains will be released? You cannot answer that. You have to point them in the right direction. Same thing with any costs associated or refunds. We want to make sure we're simply pointing them in a direction. Our responsibility again is to simply guide them. And most importantly, we want to protect your client's privacy at all costs. We're only sharing the important information that is needed to facilitate the situation. And a footnote here, if the death happens outside of the USA, the embassy or consulate can help families understand the local procedures and next steps. We are not going to be the experts on how China handles these situations, right? But the U.S. Embassy is going to be the expert, and that is who we're going to make sure that we are directing our clients to communicate with in those situations. So after the emergency, the emergency has happened, you want to make sure that you're closing that loop. So you're going to follow up. Your follow-up protects your client's relationship and it strengthens your business systems. So you're going to make sure you're following up, letting your client know that you're following up with them. So you're going to send them a written summary. A written summary is best, preferably in an email format, letting them know what happened to your understanding, what was shared with you, who was contacted, what was decided. And if there are any pending items left, maybe they didn't get their luggage or, anything like that, anything pending, you want to give them the next steps and also encourage them about the next deadlines, any of that information that you have. Claim support, you want to give them the claim link for the insurance company. Oftentimes there's a website link, the phone number, any required documents that you may have possession of. You want to make sure that you include copies of any invoices and itineraries and remind your client to submit their claims promptly. It's best to not wait weeks or 2 weeks or a month. Submit those as quickly as possible. And after this situation has happened, you're doing a recap. This is a great place to be able to train your team, should you have a team, or even yourself, just to keep a checklist. So update your checklist. What went well? Save those supplier contacts that you now have because of this particular emergency. Note what worked and train your partners on the scenarios that could happen, such as what we're doing today. And here, this is another great place that you may want to take a screenshot here. I've created a short emergency checklist for all of us here. So this is good to keep this handy for any client that you may have. And as you go along, and should these situations happen, you'll notice that you may need to change this checklist a little bit, right? You'll update it a bit. You'll maybe add some different things to it. So, different things you should keep in mind before travel. We're always offering that travel protection. Save those emergency contacts. Send your client that itinerary, which will have the supplier contacts. Confirm passports, visas if those things are needed. Recommend that they download the cruise apps, airline apps. Encourage arrival the day before the cruise. This is something that I always advise my clients when they're traveling on a cruise. For one, it allows them to be able to relax and enjoy the port city. And then it also helps, should there be any type of a situation that happens, any flight delays, different things like that. You want to be able to make sure that they are able to make that cruise. Save copies of that itinerary. During travel emergencies, first thing we're going to ask is, are you safe? Verify the facts and location. Send your client to the official staff, if that is at a resort, cruise line, anything like that, the U.S. Embassy. Contact as a supplier or the insurance company. Let them know what's happening. Provide options, but do not make promises. Save screenshots and names and track expenses. Have your client share those expenses with you so when you're doing that recap email, you can let them know the expenses that they shared with you. And after the emergency, what we talked about, right? Summarize in writing. Gather those receipts. Support the claim process, meaning direct your client to where to file that claim and reminding them of the things that they need to make sure that they have. And note any unresolved issues. So again, we talked about maybe missed luggage, different things like that that are unresolved. You want to make a note of that. And we're following up with empathy, right? So someone had, a person that passed away. So of course, this is our business. This is very important to us on a business standpoint, but we also are human and our clients are human. And we want to be able to communicate with them with empathy of their situation. And update your protocols when needed. So you're going to update this checklist as you need it. And again, as we're doing this evening, we're going to share the lessons that we learn in these situations with our team and our fellow partners. And here, another great place if you want to do a screenshot, I'm just sharing some reference sources for you and reminding you to always use official sources and supplier updates first in an active emergency. And you'll just see that footnote there in real-time emergencies. Also check airlines, cruise lines apps, supplier portals, travel insurance assistant line, airport notices, port agent instructions, and destination government alerts. So that concludes what I had for you all this evening. I am happy to answer any questions.
All right, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop those in the chat box. Stacy said good information. Thank you for sharing. Definitely great information.
Absolutely. Happy to share. Happy to share.
All right, any questions? All right, how often are we able to get in contact directly with our mentor if needed?
Well, hello there. This is a special invite this evening to a prospect that we have on the line here. So that was actually invited by myself. So would be, should you decide to move forward with us, I would be your direct mentor and you have access to me on a daily basis. I work my business full time, as well as many of the other partners here are always here to help.
All right, any other questions? All right, it doesn't seem like we have any other questions. That was a wonderful presentation. And I know I learned a lot and definitely took some screenshots,
Thank you. I'm glad it could be helpful.
especially with everything that's going on, like all at once. All right, guys. Well, if we do not have any other questions, then we will go ahead and close out this meeting. So I would like to say thank you to Sandra and congratulations again on reaching gold.
Thank you,
And
and you're most welcome.
then, on behalf of our 1-star platinum, Nina Jackson Mitchell, we can conclude this meeting.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.